I think a perfect example of how special interests and the powerful have pitted white working class Americans against brown and black working class Americans is Reaganism in the 80s when he started talking about welfare queens. He's painting this like really resentful vision of essentially black women who were doing nothing, that were sucks on our country.
Freshman Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez targeting her progressive ire at the President Reagan, President Reagan, suggesting the 40th president pushed racist policies. My next guest was a longtime aide to the president, both during and after his time in the White House, and he says Ocasio-Cortez does not have her facts straight. Mark Weinberg is also the author of Movie Nights with the Reagans. Mark, good evening to you.
Good evening.
What was your reaction when you heard the freshman member of Congress make those comments?
I was appalled and I was angry, and Reagan would have been angry too.
Why?
Because it isn't true. There couldn't be more untrue, and it took a lot to get Reagan angry, but this charge was one that would have made him so. He was raised from being a little boy to treat people equally and not to look at people on the basis of color. And for anyone to suggest otherwise is wrong, is dishonest, and is just not true.
She had quite a crowd there watching her deliver that interview on the stage, and a lot of people heard those words. What do you want to tell them about someone you came to know so well?
I did, and I talked to Craig Shirley, his biographer, who's written 4 books about this, and the two of us couldn't believe it, that this myth is still in existence. And I would want people to know that Ronald Reagan never looked at people on the basis of their skin color. He appointed the first African-American national security advisor in history. The first Hispanic in the cabinet was a Reagan appointee, and he didn't evaluate people on that way. And it just isn't fair to say so. It's an old, worn-out, false myth.
In fact, you said that he would have quite a reaction during his days in office when he was called a racist.
He was, and this is something that came up from time to time in articles that portrayed or suggested he was a racist, made him mad. And in private, he'd have some salty words about those stories, never in public, of course. But that would make him angry because it wasn't true, and he felt it in his heart. It was something that was just essential to his personality.
When you see what's happening in politics today and coming off a weekend where we saw comments like that made, what do you think that we would hear the former president, Ronald Reagan, say about politics as we know them now?
Well, he would be very disappointed, and he would tell people to do their homework and check their facts and not be so interested in personal publicity, but getting it right. I think it would disappoint him that it's gotten so mean-spirited and so personal, but the first thing he would say is, be accurate.
Really great to have you tell those stories and some of those first-hand accounts of getting to know the former president.
Thank you, Sandra. Good to be with you.